Well, hello there, guys, and welcome back once again to the channel, the new Nexus of Geek channel. And today I thought I would talk about MMORPGs. I found this interesting article on Game Rant, and what they did is they recently ranked the oldest MMORPGs that are still online today. And I think I played quite a fair number of them, maybe not all. And I thought it would be interesting to uh, sort of take a sorry, I got distracted because it is the day before the 4th of July currently as I film this or as I record this on July 3rd, and there's fireworks are going off already. It's not even 9 o'clock, but I digress. So we're ranking the great Game Rant is ranking the oldest MMORPGs that are still currently online, and I thought we'd take a short, brief walk through memory lane and see how many of these games I have played and whether I can recommend them to you or my thoughts on them. Because like I said, I'm a pretty enthusiastic retro. I like to think of myself as a retro MMO RPG gamer. That's my favorite type of fantasy genre video games. Mostly for the PC. I don't do any console gaming at all, or I haven't for a really long time. So so sit back, relax, take a load off, and let's take a look at what how they rank these and see if we agree with their rankings. And take a look at these old but fun MMOs that are still online today. All right, here we go. Ranking the oldest MMOs, and we're starting off with uh, Age of Conan, 2008. Yes, I remember Age of Conan. It was fun, although I didn't play it for very long. It was kind of a system hog, from what I recall, and so it didn't really run that great on my old Windows computer that I owned for a very long time. And let's see the reasons. While this old MMO has declined in popularity in recent years, I can't believe it's still online. I thought it was taken off a while, but a while ago. Its servers are still alive and going. Age of Conan, it's inspired by the fantasy legend Conan the Barbarian set in Hyboria. What I remember about this game was that the early levels, it was pretty violent. They had some animation, bloody animations, and it was interesting. The setting, your and the questing was pretty unique. Very different from like World of Warcraft or some of the other games I played, where it was more, I want to say, kind of atmospheric. The WoW is like more like tap targeting, and but the combat for this was a little more. The animations were different, so I liked it, but it didn't really hold my interest long because again there were some really it was very intensive, resource intensive, kind of a hog in terms of like loaded. I didn't have that I can recall like a lot of loading screens, but it took a while to get into it. Probably just my system, but back in 2008, it didn't really run that well. So they rank it as number 19. Whoa. Yeah. Did I miss one? Are they starting with 20? No. I think they're starting there. Okay, so eight. Then they go to Cabal Online, same year. I didn't play this one, so I'm not really going to uh give some feedback on. Although I will say that according to them, the game is a typical fantasy RPG in some aspects, but the website is for mature players only, as some of the dark horror and romance options might not be suitable for younger players. I don't know anything or a whole lot much about this game, so I'm just gonna skip it and go on to the next one. The Lord of the Rings Online. Yes, Lotro 2007. Now, I did play a fairly good amount of Lotro. It was unique in the sense that it didn't really have. It was mostly a PVE adventure game, and if you know the if you know the lore for Lord of the Rings, then you'll probably enjoy it a whole lot more. I wasn't really a huge Lord of the Rings fan back then. I mean, I know the books and I read The Hobbit and stuff, but and I watched the movies afterwards as they came out. But I'm it's not my favorite um my favorite fantasy setting. You know, even though it's pretty classic. Although the game was pretty fun, I would say. Although, if I remember correctly, Turbine used to run this game, and I spent more time playing DDO, Dungeons and Dragons Online, than Lotro. I picked up Lotro really late, and what I recall about it, I really liked the introduction to like the tutorials, the zones. It's kind of it's very reminiscent of the mechanics of I think it was a response, Turbine's response to the popularity of World of Warcraft, like many other MMOs at the time. Let's see what they have to say. Middle Earth is the perfect basis for an open world MMORPG, so it is surprising that one wasn't made until 2007. The game was originally behind a paywall in the form of a regular subscription, but a free version was released in 2010. So I don't know if I think I was playing the free version, maybe I don't know 2009 if 2010. Hard to tell. Like I said, I was mostly playing DDO, and I didn't pay for that one. But I do remember buying some cosmetic things, maybe spending a little bit of money for a mount so I could travel around Middle Earth faster. It didn't make that much of a difference because I think the questing of it was uh, kind of stale after a while. You know, it looked really good for a free to play game if you were playing the free version, and it what the combat was good. Um, it didn't have any PvP, so the world didn't really feel, at least in the early levels, it didn't feel like really super dangerous. If you play PvP on like Warcraft or other MMOs, I think that that probably felt a little more risque or more. You know, I like the PvP aspect. I know my friend um, Henry, my friend Henry was playing Warcraft a lot, and he shout out to Henry Montemayor if you're watching this. But the he enjoyed WoW because you know it's like it's the just you know you get used to it, and it's um but he was more of a PvP person, whereas I enjoyed, I don't necessarily enjoy getting ganked in some zones, and I don't know if I was really all that good at PvP in most of the MMOs that I played, but I just like the feeling of having a dangerous world to explore, and you could be questing. I did play Dark Age of Camelot, and in Dark Age of Camelot, you could be out questing in the world, and if the other faction would gank you, you would stop doing your quests, and you would just try to group up with other people, other players, pick up doing the pugs, so the pugs can come ahead, or if you join a guild, and if your guild members are online, they can come over and try to help you with the PvP so that you could survive. So I like that. Lord of the Rings is more quest focused, where you go out on quests and you try to advance that way. And there were like different chapters, if I remember correctly. So every expansion opened up. It was like an online book where you have the different chapters, and you go through Middle Earth. So if you like more of a story driven game, I think this game would have been a good one. Let's see what else. Here we go. Same company. This one, Dungeons and Dragons Online, back in 2006 was when it dropped, and I will have to say that this was my favorite game for a while. I played a lot. I think I never got like epic tier characters. It's kind of based on Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. If you ever played the tabletop at 3.5 and you know the mechanics, it's kind of loosely based on it, but not really. But it does follow like random loot generation. You can get a mount. No, I'm sorry. There's no mount on this one. At least it wasn't in the early levels. Lotro had mounts, but in DDO you had because it was set in Eberron, the fictional world of Eberron. At least the beginning of it. I think they expanded. Later expansions they had Ravenloft and other packs, but I never played it that long. When I was playing it, it was all Eberron, and it was brand new, fairly new. And so the characters that I had were not epic tier. because in the Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, for those of you that play, you know that there's a different tier. So you start out at the heroic tier, and then you progress, and then like when you get into like level 20 or whatever, I think it goes up to at least 30 levels, and that's like the top tier. And DDO kind of follows a similar progression. It's actually very slow leveling in the beginning. So if you don't like a grind, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed it too much. And it's also very instance based. So that means that you can go into an instance and true to the name, Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of kobolds in it, I remember. So I think I would jokingly say, this game should be rebranded, and they should call it Kobolds Dungeons and Kobolds or something like that, because I think there were more kobolds in some of those, at least on the early quests that I was playing. But Turbine did a good job of giving you an MMO based on Dungeons and Dragons. Almost every RPG owes something to the D&D universe, and naturally, the vast video game library based on the franchise would include an old online RPG. The development and distribution teams have changed over the years, which is partly why the game has also been called Dungeons and Dragons Online Stormreach and Dungeons and Dragons Online Eberron Unlimited. That just means, Unlimited is basically the free-to-play version. Because it was, when it first came out, it was a subscription-based game. I think there were different tiers. I think the cheapest was like $10 a month, but technically it would be like $15 for VIP. And if you got the VIP, you unlock all the races. So they started putting races like, I remember when I played it, the Warforged. I had a Warforged because if you're gonna be an Eberron, I really like Warforged. And I had a couple of Warforged that I was trying to level up. I didn't get very far with them because I tried different classes. But anyway, I had the Warforged, and you didn't have to pay for it at first. But then later on, as it became more free-to-play oriented, getting away from the subscription model and getting more piecemeal, then they locked a lot of the good classes or the fun classes behind the paywall. Which, if you're VIP, it doesn't really matter because you pay like $15, which is standard for MMO, and you can unlock all the races and all the classes. So it's a fun game. There's a lot of zones to explore. There's a wilderness area, but it's mostly instance. Oh, and it's got some one of the earlier games that had some voice acting, so the dungeon master would narrate some of the as you were like going through the dungeon. It's kind of I really liked it for what it was at the time. I started playing Warcraft more because Warcraft is more complete, I would say, or more. It feels ironically like Warcraft feels more like Dungeons and Dragons in the sense that some of the mechanics. DDO had some interesting mechanics though, such as they had rest shrines. So like in the paper game, you can take even now after 4th edition, you could start. I think 3rd edition started the short rest mechanics, and getting your hit points back after resting. But in this game, you just go to a shrine and you rest for the shrine, and then you get your strength back. But it's a brutal game. It's a brutal game once you get up in the higher levels. I mean, it's really hard to progress. It's not for those people. At least it used to be. I don't know if it still is, but it wasn't for people that were not very fond of the grind. So I'll leave it at that. And Guild Wars 2005. Now, that was a pretty prominent and very popular game. I did play Guild Wars. I never really liked it, to be honest. The very first Guild Wars, it was kind of cliquish. It's like I guess maybe I joined it late, and there was a version of it which was called Factions, and Factions was more PvP oriented, but the PvE version that came out in 2005. A lot of people had already progressed by the time I joined at least the servers I was playing, and it was good looking game. Don't get me wrong; the graphics were good for the time for what it was, and but it was hard to get. I remember I lost my password, and it was really really hard to recover the password. Not really easy to like some of these other servers, and so I sort of gave up for a while. I think my friend Michael was really into the game when it was new, and he gave me he wasn't playing it anymore because he had leveled up his character and I guess got bored of it, and he gave me his password for a while, and I played it for free using his password for some time. Thank you, Michael Chen. Michael Chen, may you rest in peace. Because he was playing, he was more of a RTS guy, so he was playing RTS games, and then he was really into LOL. So he was playing LOL, and I don't really like RTS as much as I like MMO. So you know, to each his own, I guess. So yeah, I definitely remember the first Guild Wars. This old MMO introduced various elements into the genre. Set in the fictional world of Tyria, player, I think it's pronounced Tyria, players choose a main profession for their character that affects their skill set and abilities. The main professions are warrior, monk, elemental ranger, necromancer, and mesmer, but others have been added in expansion packs. It is also credited as being the first major MMORPG that didn't focus subscription fees, going with the more traditional pay for the game and play it forever. Yes, I remember that. Well, by the time I was playing it, I don't think, I think it might have been free to play. I don't remember before I got the account from my friend. But basically you just bought it out of the box. This back in the day when you could still buy the box like at Target or whatever, GameSpot, and you installed the game on your computer, but you only had to pay for it once. So it was like 30, 40 bucks, whatever it was back then. I think it was like 35 or something minimal. If you got the later expansions, it was a little bit more. But the original base game was like you bought the box and then you didn't have to worry about a subscription fees, which was the one of the few games, few MMOs that was pay to play, but it was pay to buy. Yeah, or you buy it and you never have, like it says, you never have to worry about paying additional fees unless you wanted to get some cosmetic things like a mount or something along those lines. So it was fun, but it wasn't my favorite. Mabigoni, how do you say that? Mabigoni 2004. I never played this game. It looks like something out of anime based or like Eastern. There are a lot of Eastern based MMOs, and I never really used it. I know it was popular. Of course, then we get to the behemoth, the giant World of Warcraft, which came out in 2004. And I don't have to say much about this game. I mean, anybody that's watching this and has played an MMO realizes how influential World of Warcraft was. I didn't play it right off the bat. I knew about it in 2004, but I think I started playing it in like '07 when it had become more commercial. They had all these commercials on TV with like Mr. T and Chuck Norris advertising, and I said that looks like fun, so I tried it. I was hooked right away. It was like such a good game, and it combined a lot of the fantasy tropes and elements of other games, but you could progress the even though the tab system was kind of simple, but it was very addictive, and it was so intuitive, and then you could easily group up. Back then, it was not as they didn't have, this was before they're looking for group and all these functions that they changed, but the original vanilla based classic Warcraft, you could you join the faction, and then you joined the guild if you were lucky, and then you just progressed. I confess, I never had like I never was able to max a character. I think max level at that time was like 60, and I think I got as far as 40, and then I gave up because I realized that I needed all this gold just to get a mount, and I could have kept going, but I was kind of burned out on it by then, and I was playing other games at the same time. But it was definitely fun, and I came back to it multiple times because I got kind of bored of Horde. I was always Horde. I loved the Horde, and I hated the other faction, mostly because it was, I don't know, it was a faction based game. I picked the Horde because it had all the monsters and all the unusual creatures. To me, the other one was like humans and gnomes. So I did try playing a dwarf though, because I like dwarves. The alliance, and I think that was the only alliance race that I really liked. But it was great for PvP, although you have to be really geared up. So you gotta play it a long time to get to max level to get to PvP, and I guess it's really more geared towards end game content and raiding. So I wasn't like a big time end game or raider, but I did have fun leveling up multiple outs. I was kind of alcoholic in this game, if you know what that term means. Okay, there were a lot of games. Well, it says related games to play like Warcraft, and then the next one is Dofus. I don't know what that is. I never played it. Lineage 2. There's like a resurgence of this game. I did installed this game, and I liked it. It seemed interesting, but at the time, it was kind of past its prime. Um, let's see what it says. Recently, in part, thanks, there's been a resurgence in part of the publicity about its 18th anniversary. Okay, I didn't know that it was coming back. The game was released a year earlier in Korea than in North America, and even then, it had impressive graphics and an immersive storyline. It started the trend of distinctive KRPG MMOs that continue to the games like Lost Ark. I don't really know what KRPG is, to be honest. If you guys know out there, or maybe I could like really Google it real quick. KRPG MMO. I played it. I liked it, but I didn't play it very long because, like I said, I was just trying out games all the time. KRPG MMO. What does that mean? I'm not sure, and it's not. If you guys know, drop a comment to let me know what that means. I'm guessing it has to do with the battle system, but I'm not for 100% sure. Let's move on. EVE Online 2003. Very. You would think that I would like this game because I like Star Trek and I like sci-fi, but I don't really. It seemed pretty complex, with the economy. I know it's one of the best like games for space exploration, and I think if they, I don't know if they have now like a game based on Starfinder. I know there's Star Wars MMOs. The Old Republic is probably in this list. So I played the Old Republic for a while when it dropped in 2011. It didn't run very smoothly on my computer again. It was another one that was pretty graphic intensive. My graphic card wasn't that great back then, so I didn't really it didn't run smoothly. I think I played it later on when I kind of upgraded the system, the hardware a little bit more. But anyway, I digress. EVE Online, very good, very well done game. A lot of people swear by it. I never tried it. Maple Story. Okay, I've heard of Maple Story, but never played it. It looked kind of goofy with the cartoon characters. I know that Warcraft the artwork is cartoony as well, but this one just a little bit too much. I couldn't get into that. Second Life. Okay, Second Life. Second Life was like a sociological experiment to me. It's almost like people that were playing it seemed like they were playing it to do research or to have I knew a lot of people that were in grad school that would have used Second Life sort of as a virtual experiment. But I never played it. I don't know what the appeal to it is, other than, I mean, if you're gonna play like a simulation, I'd rather play The Sims or something like that. Let's see what it says. This game is very much a staple in the 90s fashion and style. Yeah, I would agree that. I would concur. Second Life is a much more basic game with a strong Sims comparison. Yeah, that's fair. Although, like I said, I'd rather play The Sims. Players build and create a character, relationships. Second Life is often referred to as an MMORPG, but many, including their own developers, dispute that, saying that there is no manufacturer conflict and no set objective. That's a good definition, I would say. I mean, if you have no objective, it's a really good virtual laboratory, simulator. But if you want to play a game that's a life simulator, I think I'd go with The Sims because it seems to be more fun. Final Fantasy 11 Online. I'm gonna kind of go a little bit faster in some of these because I don't think I played a lot of these, and this video is getting a little on the long side. Final Fantasy Online is 2002. I didn't play it, but I want to. I still want to today because it was a good game from all the reviews that I read. It had issues when they first rolled it out, but I think they're still around. The service is still around. It's pretty smooth. Maybe I'll try it in the near future. Oh, Dark Age of Camelot 2001. I love Dark Age of Camelot. I love it, love it, love it. It is such a great game. And I got into it way later. I discovered it around the same time I was playing Warcraft and trying around new MMO. So if you know anything about MMOs, you know how great this game is. And what's unique about it is that, unlike Warcraft, this is the only game up until 2008 where they had a three faction system. So it's faction versus faction versus faction. It's actually called RVR for the people that are in the know or that have tried it, which is realm versus realm versus realm. Because there's three realms in the game. There's the Camelot realm, and there's Midgard, and there's the Hibernia, which is kind of like a bunch of druids, forest like. But I was playing Midgard because I love the Norse mythology, and I played Camelot a little bit, but I enjoy the Midgard ethos a lot more. So I can't say enough of that about this game. I'd have to spend a whole other video. Maybe I will. But it is what I guess what happened is a lot of the player bases came out in 2001, and then 3 years later, same thing that happened to EverQuest 2, where Warcraft just took off and it showed us the service. It was a sensation and it sapped away players from other games, which sadly, but there's still a lot of players, and there's a really good emulator called Eden, the Eden server, which is a private server for Dark Age of Camelot, but the live server is still good too, although their population is low. That's the deal with this. Some of the bad thing about these old games is they don't have as big a population. If this is going by order, and the Daok is at number 6, then that's a pretty high ranking. I think these are ranked, so they got it at number 6. And then the game after that, we came out the same year, was Anarchy Online 2001. I did download this game. I played it for a while. It has a science fiction uh, motif to it, which is I like, which is a lot different than the typical fantasy trope. But it's just like it's basically World of Warcraft with science fiction elements to it. That's how I would describe it. Old time graphics though, and an old engine. So if you don't like old time graphics, you probably didn't enjoy it. RuneScape. I had a friend who was a big RuneScape fan. Personally, I didn't really like it that much, but you think that I would have, because it reminds me a lot of like when I started playing video games on the PC. I was back in the dating myself, but I had a Commodore 64, and I played games like the Bard's Tale and a lot of the rudimentary are not really MUDs but RPGs that would later give way to MMOs. And so RuneScape kind of has that aesthetic. Maybe I'll try it in the future because it's still very popular, but there's so many good games out there. So I was never like a huge. I didn't play this game very long, but I do know that it's still popular even to this day. EverQuest is number 3, and if you follow this channel or you've seen some of my other videos, I have played EverQuest. Even recently, I was playing EverQuest 1, and I'd never tried Project 1999 as an emulator, but I played it on the live server, and I know that TLPs are pretty popular. In 2015, I thought about doing a TLP, but I wanted to get more familiar with the game. Then I forgot all about it, or I got busy. I got back into it last year, and I haven't really played a whole lot with the TLPs, but now in the holiday seasons, they have double XP, and there's a lot of people streaming it, and I like the game a lot. I think that it's especially on the PvE side, and the old graphics are great. It looks great. I mean, I like old time graphics. Graphics are not a thing for me. It's like I don't care if you have all the bells and whistles, but if the gameplay is fun and the mechanics are fun, then that's really all I need. And EverQuest kind of scratches that itch. Tibia, I know Tibia. Didn't really play it. I don't think it was. Surprised it's ranked so high. What do they have to say about it? Goes all the way back to the last century, 95 to be precise, when it was started by some German university students, part of a hobby. It could be the first MMO in history, released in 97, and it's still based in Europe. Uses a classic fantasy setting, still enjoys updates and bug fixes along with a loyal fan base. Yeah, I was never really into it. And number 1, Ultimate Online 1997. Of course, people know about this old MMO, and Richard Lord, what is it, Lord Garriott? This guy's name, he's very well known. All the way back to the Ultimate series, maybe back in the days before internet trolling. Although several expansion packs have been released. Improves the game's graphic. The developers have done their best to maintain the original spirit of the game. It's very PvP oriented, I know that, and so I think I would probably enjoy it. And I think it's I don't know if it might be pay to play now. It used to be subscription based, just like Dark Age of Camelot. And that's the thing. Like, would you pay a monthly subscription fee to play an old game like Dark Age, or would you play World of Warcraft, or would you play a more modern game? You know, leave your tell me what you think in the comments. So a very interesting ranking. I would have pegged a different game to be number one. And I'm satisfied, or I'm happy to know that EverQuest is really up there, and also that um, they have some of these games from 2001, especially Dark Age of Camelot. So honestly, for my money, Dark Age of Camelot is probably number one, but I'm kind of biased because I really, really like that game. I know not everybody does. So there you have it. Game Rant has given us the ranking. Ultima Online 97 is the number one old MMO according to them. That servers are still running, but there's a lot of my favorites on there. I played a lot of these old games, and in some ways I like them. I like them a lot better than the modern ones, where there's a lot of bells and whistles, and it's very system intense. And that's the thing. Warcraft used to be my favorite because you could run it on a toaster like computer, crap computer, and it will still run fine. I don't think that's the case anymore with all the new updates. Vanilla and classic are not that system intensive, but I get a lot of disconnect from the server, and I don't think it's all um, connection related. From what I read, people have issues with it too, and you have to have a lot of patience. I don't have patience anymore. If the game doesn't run smoothly, I'm just gonna move up to something else. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and enjoy playing whatever game world you enjoy. And I will talk to you guys soon.